Looking for music that lifts your spirit and fills your heart? Experience the powerful sound of the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square. Now streaming on all your favorite music platforms. Find the Tabernacle Choir on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Amazon Music, and Pandora. Let the music of the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square inspire you today and every day. Whether you're at home, in the car, or on the go, enjoy the beauty of their world-renowned sound anytime. The Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square, streaming now.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Question of the morning. Do you want Notre Dame to regularly play BYU? The overwhelming answer is yes. Sam, yes. Dennis, yes. Lane, yes. Matthew, as a Utah fan, this should be a no-brainer. Yes, every year, home, neutral, site, repeat. There's a few no's out there. Don says no, they don't honor their commitments. And Ken says, no, we don't need that loss. But it's overwhelmingly yes. Is the Cougar tail stale? Heck yeah, bring them on, says Aaron. Big games, PK. People crave them. And the Big 12 wants a seat at the big boys' table. Notre Dame's a big boy. If you get a chance to play him and beat him, you can't pass on that.
Yeah, but just because you get a chance to beat him, that doesn't mean you're going to beat him.
No, it doesn't. But you got a chance.
Right.
So take it. Take the swing.
The road easier traveled might be the better path, though. If you don't get the automatic bid. I mean, the reason why they got left out of the playoff was score. Not losing, but score.
Tech dominated them. They couldn't move the ball. Couldn't put points on the board.
It was like 63 to 14 or something.
Something like that, yeah.
And that was their overwhelming metric in saying, well, man, they got dominated. So we've seen this has already happened. If you don't play the conference title game, sometimes that's better than playing it and getting destroyed as far as getting in. And so if Notre Dame, which obviously has the opportunity to be as big of a juggernaut as any school out there, and it looks like Freeman's got it going. We would agree with that, right?
Agree with that.
And he's young.
He's young. He's probably winning a lot. He could have.
If he doesn't want to go to the NFL, I don't think he's going to do Brian Kelly and take off. It seems like it's either going to be Notre Dame or maybe NFL, and you never know what's going to happen, obviously. So for BYU, they have to ask themselves, yeah, it's cool to play them, but if you lose 47-10, that could be a negative against you. And so you have to wonder, is that really, it sounds good to play these guys every year, but is that truly in your best interest? Because last year, you might have gotten in if there was some kind of tiebreaker and you didn't win that to get to the playoff. And that's everybody's goal now is the playoff. The conference title, this is basically turned into basketball. And especially as they continue to expand, that it's okay, it's cool to cut down the nets because you won the title, but
the coolest thing is getting the automatic bid.
The NCAA tournament is where it's at. Oh, I don't.
I see what you're saying. I was talking football, but yes. The NCAA tournament is where it is at. And in basketball, you want to be in the tournament. And that's where we've gotten in football now as they've gone to 12.
Right.
You want to be in the tournament.
And we're going to expand.
It seems like just a matter of time.
Right.
I mean, these guys want to sit around and argue, so they sit around and argue. Right. But everybody knows they're leaving money on the table. And I think the Big Ten is just betting that the SEC will cave to the 24 rather than walk away from the money that they know they can get.
Seems that that's very logical, the point you make. So with that in mind, would it be easier? Rich Rod talks about, I want to play 3 dogs in non-conference. So that gets me 3-0. And then if you go 8-1 in conference, they talk about these things and strength of schedule and all that, but I don't think that in football it's really something that they practice what they preach. Plus, everything is so magnified because of what do they got? 68 teams or whatever they're doing now in college. And so if some power league team misses out, like, the only people who really care about are
is that
you.
school. Yeah.
That's nobody else. There's no discussion. It lasts for maybe a half an hour. Teams that got jobbed, and then they move on, right?
I think now, to your point, I don't even want to watch the show and hear about it.
Yeah.
And they're going from 68 to 76. You shouldn't have lost 14 games.
Right.
I don't know. Find a way to lose 11 and get in.
Right.
I just think in football, where they play fewer games, it is clear that, and it may not be, here's your favorite word, fair, but it is clear nonetheless that the ACC and Big 12 aren't getting the benefit of the doubt, and the Big 10 and the SEC are. If you want to go 3-0 and be Rich Rod, if coaches say that and you're in the Big 10 or ACC, I assume as soon as I hear that, you're at a school where winning is tough, and you want to have a good record so you can keep your job. And I don't begrudge you that. Arizona, winning's hard at Arizona. It just is. And he wanted to do that. I get it. And maybe that'll help him keep his job.
I think winning's hard everywhere.
But if you want to go to the playoff, it looks to me like they're looking to find a reason to say no to Big 12
so why
and ACC
give them
schools.
that and get hammered by Notre Dame?
Because if you're not good enough, then you'll know because you got hammered. But if you don't want to be sitting there thinking we were good enough, but we didn't play anyone where we had a chance to prove it. If you play Notre Dame, you have a chance to prove it. Because I think to your point, more years than not, they're going to be a playoff team.
Sure. And you love history, and almost every time when BYU gets a big win, that team wasn't good that week. They make excuses. If they don't want to let you in the ACC and Big 12, they're not letting you in pretty much no matter what you do. The only teams that they've let in are the teams that they were forced to let in.
And that's why I think BYU should play Notre Dame, because I do think Notre Dame's going to be good, and I think it'll be very hard to say, well, they're no good. I'm already looking at the Big 12 schedule.
But they do. They've already done that 1,000 times for BYU. Everybody goes to Miami, and that's it. In the history of the program, they got one good non-conference win. That's it, which is a joke, but that's what they say. And now they're going to change that? No.
Because when Sarkisian quarterbacked when he beat A&M, and it was the kickoff classic, and the whole country was watching, and Musburger was here, and it was the biggest thing ever, and then A&M turned out to be a 500 team. To your early point about Notre Dame, I think that's one of the few programs we can count on right now that isn't going to turn into a 500 team. I think most of the time when you beat them, you beat a playoff team.
But yeah.
And if you can't beat them, then you can't get in. But I'd rather play him and take a swing. And I'm surprised you're taking the other side of this argument, because you're the king of be bold, go big, don't try to backdoor it.
But the conference will allow you big opportunities. I don't see them beating Notre Dame regularly. I hope I'm wrong. I don't see them beating Notre Dame regularly.
So this year BYU has how many big games? 2? 3?
I think they've got probably 10. I
Now,
think every
one of them
conference
is Notre
game is
Dame.
a big game, because that's the way to get the automatic bid. And
but if they can't get the automatic bid, then nothing else matters. Fine, they're taken care of. But if you're trying to get in a large bid, how many games do they have that can help them do that?
Every one of them.
I don't buy that.
Okay. I'm not selling it, so it's not for sale anyway. You can purchase whatever you want. Because if it's not a big game, then go ahead to lose to that team. Kansas 2 years ago wasn't a big game, and they lost that game. How big was that? Turns out that was huge. It couldn't have been any bigger.
How many chances do they have to get a big win? It could be a big loss, but Kansas can't be a big win.
Here's the goalpost, and you put on your vest and your construction hat, and you just moved it.
What am I, one of the village people? Yes.
I've always thought so in many different ways, but that's another story.
Wow.
Don't lob it to me. At least.
But that's part of the show. Come on,
They're
man.
all big games, man. My gosh, as I said, Kansas kept you out. They were undefeated at that time, if I remember. Who thought going into that game, this is the most important game on their schedule? Turns out it was. So they're all huge games.
Any loss, because the playing field is tipped to the Big Ten and the SEC and away from the ACC and the Big 12, any loss is a big loss, but the win isn't a big win.
Any
because
love
all
is good love, so
losses.
take what you can get. That's why you have to approach every game as it is a big game. Because if they would have just lost in that crazy Kenny Dillingham, too young of a head coach at the time. Look at this stance right here.
Oh, my gosh. Who is that?
That's Hideki Matsuyama.
Oh, my God. He's in a pot bunker, and he was
quite a
right
shot.
up against the wall.
Holy smokes.
Off his knees.
He's on his knees. He's reaching down into the bunker. You can't see the ball or the sand. I mean, it's way down there.
He looks like a frog.
Oh, and he's got his right leg is way behind him. You know what that pose is? It's that poster you see with George Costanza and he's got his shirt off and he's trying to do some male modeling thing. It's that. His legs are way behind him.
That looked like a stretch you would do in
yoga
warming
stretch
up.
or a warm-up stretch. Yeah. And yet, you're right, Yuck. That was a great shot. I mean, he gave himself a makeable putt. He got it out of the bunker on the green and reasonably close to the flag. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and then we had
replay that all day long.
Bob Casper talking about those pop bunkers and how difficult they are. And Matsuyama got in and executed the shot.
Golf Channel will be replaying that in the highlights later today.
That was phenomenal. You'll probably see a GIF of that somewhere along the line today.
Yes.
But yeah, I agree with you. It is slanted, and you got to be careful.
You need big wins.
But they'll have opportunities for big wins.
And they also want their TV package to be worth more. So I think there's an argument for the commissioner going to Notre Dame and saying, hey, depending on how much of a problem you guys have getting games, let us know. We'll move stuff around, and you can play teams in October, November.
BYU can get big games anytime they want. They can get 3 big games in non-conference if that's what they wanted. BYU, absolutely. They could play the toughest schedule every single year. If it was simply schedule, they could do that. They could play Notre Dame caliber teams out the yin-yang. They already showed that through independence. That's not going to change. That's easy for them to accomplish if that's the goal. The goal is to manage your schedule in an appropriate way. And I'm not saying don't play Notre Dame, but I'm not sure I want Notre Dame every single year to be a USC type thing. I just don't know you're going to come out ahead on that very often. How many times have they beaten Notre Dame as it is? And you can say, oh, yeah, their program's in better shape. They are, but so is Notre Dame's. You got to be careful. I'm not saying dismiss it completely.
I think they're 2-5 against Notre Dame.
You've got to be able, and then everybody's going to say, well, those are down years that Notre Dame lost. And I don't even remember the years, but that's going to be the perception. It's the perception for BYU has never changed. When they win, everybody thinks, that because that big name team is in a down year or somebody was injured, something was up. Except for Miami, something was up. So I wonder if you're going to get that big bang for the buck that you're going to claim. Whereas they're going to have 5 big games every year. There's at least Utah's always a big game, and it doesn't matter what the Utes are. And the Utes are usually pretty good, right? So that's one. And then if you want to get an at-large bid, you're most likely going to have to minimally get to the conference title game. So that's 2. Right there. So I got 2 huge games right there.
On the under $3 menu at McDonald's, a McChicken is $2. Because when you're craving a McChicken, you deserve a McChicken. And now that McChicken is just $2 with McValue.
Limited time only. Prices and participation may vary. Prices may be higher for delivery.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Just top.
Do you think if Utah beats Arizona, it's the kind of win? It's game 2 this year. If BYU. Back. If BYU beats Arizona,
yes.
Do they get a ton of credit for that win, is it the win that gets to miss? Like Arizona, it's a nice team, but really,
I don't know why did the TV people who TV drives the sport? Why did they decide
because
it's going to be on 130?
Fafita is back and they're coming off their
right. So
pretty good
TV
season.
has told us this is a big game. Doesn't matter what I think. Argue with the TV people. TV has told us this is. I don't know if there is a but. TV has told us this is a big game.
Because in the past, TV has told us a big game. The season opener when BYU beat Oklahoma and Arlington was a big game. The season opener when BYU beat Texas A&M back in the 90s when Chad Lewis was playing. That was a big game. And then immediately it's not a big game. Those go on the list
but this is a regularly scheduled game. Those games were, as you would say, the one-off deal. Mm-hmm. There's 9 of these babies, and they put it there right at the start. It was engineered to be there with the idea that it's going to be a big game. Now we've got BYU winning, and you're doing the very thing that I said everybody does about BYU.
Everybody does it. Right. I'm anticipating they're going to do it again. They did it to the U win last year. I thought the U win was a big win. You thought it was a big win, but the committee didn't think it was a big win.
Because they got slaughtered twice by Texas Tech. That's all they had to do was play Texas Tech close, and they couldn't do it.
So
same principle. So they'll do it again. So if we agree with this, but now when they play Notre Dame and lose 47-10, somehow that doesn't matter. And if they beat Arizona and Arizona then doesn't turn out to be what we thought, somehow if BYU does that, that's not going to count. You're talking out of both sides of your mouth. Both examples, yes, that's the knock on BYU. So why risk that every year? I don't know that BYU is going to be able to roll out 12 wins every season. It would be awesome if they did. And if they did do that, then it's also like the NCAA tournament in basketball. They like to say, well, it's just on this year. Bull crap. Your rep determines a large part if you get in, and your success in recent seasons determines what seed you get. Those are facts.
I think they need signature wins to get where
they
have
want opportunities for them.
Where they get, and I'm just not convinced that the selection committee is going to look at any Big 12 win as a signature win. They're looking at any loss to devalue the signature win.
Well, then it's a one-game schedule. Then it's just
Notre
Dame. If you beat Notre Dame, that's all you got to worry about. That's highly unlikely.
I think they need the boost that comes with beating Notre Dame.
Sure.
And I think you have to risk the losses because they're probably going to shut you out anyway. So you've got to make the overwhelming case.
At 24, the Big 12 is going to get one team in.
If they go to 24,
you just said they were going to go to 24.
I think they will, but I don't know. But I don't know when. I mean, I know they're playing. When. Well, they're not doing it this year. Right. I think it's a good thing BYU is playing Notre Dame this year because I think it gives them a chance to get the big win.
But I'm not talking about this year. I'm talking about regularly scheduled. I'm looking ahead. I'm not talking about this year. I'm looking at it when it goes to 24. That's under my presumption, which you told me you think is going to happen. So
under the
parameter of 24, I think they got to schedule wisely. Yeah, I stand by that. I think they have to because the chances at 24 are far greater. It's double. It's literally double that at 12. So you'll have plenty because at that point, you're going to let in a bunch of teams, and not all those teams are going to have these great wins over Notre Dame. So you probably don't need that. If you roll the Big 12, if it goes to 24, which going by your logic, it will, and your logic, I can't disagree with it. It's just too much money to leave on the table. You're going to have a much better chance the fewer losses you have. I don't think that the wins over whomever are going to matter as much the risk taking the loss.
My advice to Brian Santiago, as you spell this out, is schedule them now. And if you think you need to cancel some of them later, do it. But schedule now because
I thought Notre Dame doesn't honor contracts.
There's always a buyout.
No, here we go.
There's always a buyout in there. You got to live by the buyout in the deal. Negotiate it with the buyout.
Or you do what Notre Dame does and move a game to Las Vegas.
Notre Dame can do that. They have the leverage.
I think that was fine for BYU.
It actually was a pretty good deal.
One of the
listeners, if you weren't with us early in the segment, said that they should sign 3-year deals, home, away, neutral, which might appeal to Notre Dame because they want to play all over the country anyway. And they know they'll sell it out. And Vegas is a great location. But if they can't play in L.A., BYU, Notre Dame in L.A., go down to SoFi. Go down to SoFi and play.
You mean if they can't play in Vegas, go to SoFi?
If they want to take a year off from playing in Vegas, and if they can't get a game in L.A., because now USC isn't playing Notre Dame for however long.
Notre Dame can't get a game.
Yeah, if Notre Dame can't get a game in L.A., BYU wants to play in L.A. too. Just move a game to L.A.
Notre Dame can. If Notre Dame desperately wanted to play a game in Los Angeles, they can get anybody to go there.
Right. So BYU, raise your hand first. And I think the other thing that we've left out of this, which we probably shouldn't, is the business side of it.
Yeah,
We've been talking playoff, which is the far more interesting side to us. But I go back to what Yormark said, or to what I said about Yormark. He should be calling Notre Dame and like, hey, if you need good games in October, November, I think play him. If you're going to beat the big boy, I know.
But SC begged off because they got too many games, and they don't want to have to travel again when every other year.
Yep.
When they're doing all this travel.
Yep.
So SC is telling us that's not something that we want to do.
Okay, but do we think SC is
bigger games
good enough, and they're playing bigger games, and they don't need
everybody needs a
win
win over Notre Dame. But the idea is, why risk it if you don't have to? That's the premise. Well, and when the thing goes to 24? 24. Is that what you're saying?
16 24? Or 24. Right.
Okay. If it goes to 24, you're simply not going to need as many big wins in non-conference. You're not. It's the way it will be, because they're going to take – you have a chance then to finish third minimally in the Big 12 and still get in. So why risk it? At 24, I think it's potentially a risk that you don't necessarily need to take. This year, I'm not arguing this year. I'm talking about
this year
down the line.
It's worth the risk at 12. But at 24,
I think it is. Yeah, I agree with you.
We'll see if it's a 2 or 3 bid league or a 4 or 5 bid league. I mean, if it's a 4 bid league,
they got to have more than 2, man. At 24,
I would hope so. But we've been disappointed by college football and the way they treat our teams and our leagues and our side of the country before. So I'm open to being disappointed again. But at 4 or 5 teams, the door is much more wide open, and it really is. I mean, you're right at that point.
Yeah,
you can get to 10-2. You give yourself 3 gimmies. You go 7-2 in league, and then you're there. Now, it'll be interesting to see if the demand and how this all works in the law of unintended consequences. Well, is it not good enough to get in, and you need to advance?
I wouldn't say 3 games.
And you need a home game. No, I know what you mean. But you need a home game in the first round and a win, and then you can live with it. Because that's what we see in the basketball tournament, which is a pretty fair model to compare this to, because it looks like where it's going. And why wouldn't it? That bus is being driven by the same people. There are teams that just have to get into the NCAA tournament. Your Lumberjacks and my Gauchos, if they get in, it's a big year. And they get their payment for 1 game, and it's awesome. High five, new contract for the coach, and away we go, right?
Yeah.
But then BYU's now at the place where getting in, well, it's good because it's a box you need to check because you don't want to not get in. But, hey, we're BYU. We got to be winning a game or 2. We got to be in the Sweet 16. And there are other schools like –
in what sport are we talking about?
Basketball, men's basketball.
Okay.
And there are other schools that are like Sweet 16. That's the minimum achievement. You want to be there because you don't want to be there. But Arizona, I mean, they just sit down at the start of every year. Can we get to the Final Four? We're at the point now where a regional final, that's good, and a Final Four is very good or great. And Sweet 16, that's just okay. That's not really it.
Agreed.
And they got coaches with flop sweat or worried about their jobs because they went out in the Sweet 16.
Okay. Yeah, I agree.
So where will the bar be? Will just getting in be good enough for the Big 12? I think it's funny we're arguing. I'm the one who tends to argue hey, figure out the system and backdoor it. I tend to argue that, and this time I'm not, and you are. And you tend to be the person who's like, be bold, go for it. If you're good enough, you can handle Notre Dame. It's the Irish. It'll pump up your regular season contract. It excites the kids who want to play there. The coaches relish it. You and I think have both had communication with people at BYU who are relishing the chance to play Notre Dame at home this year.
And they should be.
They don't think it's a slam dunk. They're not disrespecting Notre Dame, but they relish the opportunity.
It's golden.
Yes. Domer, see what you did?
I didn't mean to do that.
You can't help yourself. It's your greatness.
But with this year, with this team in Provo.
And a 12-team playoff.
So it's essentially a requirement.
The argument about backdooring a 24 is strong, but I can see where it's so strong everybody will try it, and then the bar will get moved. It's like, yeah, you're in, but you really need to get to the round of 16 or 8 to have a good season. Well, now you got to be seeded better. Now you need a home game. Now you better have a signature win like Notre Dame.
I don't know necessarily that you need to be seeded better.
You may not. We're taking a lot of...
Yeah, we'll have to see how it plays out.
But the thing that we've learned doing this for a long time... The thing we've learned doing this a long time is you got to be aware of the law of unintended consequences. Changes come, and you think you can anticipate what they mean, and you're right, but there's usually unanticipated stuff that comes with it. And we've seen it in basketball. The bar gets moved back. For some schools, it's not about making the tournament. And for football, we'll get to the point where, it's already at 12. It's not about making the tournament for Ohio State and Oregon. Oregon is, win or bust, baby. They've been knocking on the door for so long. They've been not just in, but close. They played in the BCS era. They played for a title. The last 2 years, the only teams they've only lost 3 games, and all 3 have been to teams that won the championship later that year. You can make the argument they've been the second best team in football 2 years in a row.
You want to get in, but you want a better seed. Okay, but then we find out, the better seeds, they get knocked out because the other team last year you're making the argument the team that played ahead of them.
Yep.
So did they really want the better seed? Because the better seed, no, you want to play the game. So because you say if you take 2 weeks off, you've lost everything. You've made that argument. So do you really want the better seed? Because then,
when you get to 20 games between days, 20 days between games, 23, 26, whatever it's been. To me, that is too much.
Well, then you don't want a better seed.
But that scenario is going away.
I don't know it's going away.
Oh, you're right. I can't prove it either. But I firmly expect that they're going to condense this schedule because I think playing either the title game or the semis on January 1, not the quarters, is going to be the way to go in the future.
For all I know, they'll be playing in February.
Just the NFL.
And the NFL is going to move it back.
Yep.
So we'll need a game that week. The All-Star Pro thing doesn't work. No one watches it. No one gives a crap.
Nope.
So who knows? And maybe they'll start the season later. They were already the first and foremost an academic endeavor. That guy just rolled over his grave. And it never was an academic endeavor.
First and foremost, it's a cash endeavor.
Right.
Now, back in the day, it was about ADs and coaches getting contracts and extensions and TV networks making money. And now it's also about players getting big paydays and protecting themselves so that they're healthy for the next big payday if they're good enough to move on.
And the players transfer 3 times. They're really concerned about academics. It's a pro sport.
Yep.
It's a pro model sport. It's always been that way. And the great thing about all these freaking changes is now it's just far more out in the open and everybody can see it for what it is.
Facts.
Yeah. And that's the way it always was, but it was just kind of unspoken because it's not supposed to be this way. And the guy with the cardigan sweater who teaches in the history department, shut up. Nobody cares about what you have to say anymore.
I didn't know you yet. I didn't live in Utah yet.
That's your loss.
Obviously. I was in Santa Barbara, and I was working in the athletic department while I was in school, and it's when the NCAA tournament.
But you heard about guys like me.
And it's when the NCAA tournament goes to 64, and I saw a full-time staffer, not some student like me, but a full-time staffer talking to AD, and they were both absolutely gawking and jaw-dropping because the payments for one NCAA tournament game were going to $300,000 plus. And they're like, we got a deficit in the athletic department. That would completely wipe it out. One game. And they're talking about the $300,000 free throw and all that. And those numbers seem, now one player gets that. I mean, the numbers, but it's always been about the money. The money's gotten bigger, but standing right there in the athletic department, they were talking about the math of it all and just blown away by how much money it was. It's never changed, except the money has gotten much, much bigger.